David, please. He's so buried in spreadsheets he barely notices I exist. I could parade you through the living room, and he'd probably just ask if you wanted coffee. My wife's laughter, breathless, intimate, nothing like the polite chuckle she gives me across the dinner table, drifted through our bedroom door. I stood frozen on the third step from the top of our staircase, luggage still in my hand, my heart hammering so loud I was sure they'd hear it. Let me back up. My name is David Kane, 48 years old, forensic accountant, married to Sasha Kane for 12 years. At least, I thought I was married. Turns out I was just the idiot funding someone else's romance. I'd returned home early from Chicago. My Thursday flight got cancelled, so I took a red-eye that landed at 10:30 instead of Friday afternoon. I was excited. I'd surprise Sasha. Maybe we'd open that expensive wine she'd been saving, actually talk for once instead of exchanging pleasantries between her yoga classes and my conference calls. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway at 11 p.m. I used the garage entrance, being quiet so I wouldn't startle her. The only light came from our master bedroom upstairs, warm and golden through the crack under the door. That's when 3 days after Sarah installed the hidden cameras, legal in our estate since I owned the property, I sat in my office watching live footage on my laptop. Tuesday afternoon, 2 p.m., Sasha and Brian in my bedroom. They were lounging post-affair, his arm around her, her finger tracing circles on his bare chest. The intimacy of it was worse than the betrayal. When are you going to tell him? Brian asked. Tell him what? That you're leaving. That you're done. Sasha sighed. It's not that simple, baby. David's got money tied up everywhere. Investments, retirement accounts, the business. If I just leave, I get half of what's liquid. Maybe 200,000. But if I play this right. Brian sat up, suddenly attentive. Play what right? I leaned closer to my screen, my heart pounding. David's company is worth $2.3 million. But it's all in his name. In a divorce, the business gets complicated. Evaluations, lawyers, years of fighting. But if David were to die, say, in an accident, I inherit everything. Clean. Simple. My blood went ice cold. Brian's face went pale on the screen. Sasha, what are you saying? She laughed. That same intimate laugh I'd heard through our bedroom door. Relax. I'm not saying we kill him. I'm saying accidents happen. David's a workaholic. He drives exhausted. He's stressed constantly. His dad died of a heart attack at 52, David's 48. If something were to happen naturally. You're talking about life insurance. $3 million policy. I'm the sole beneficiary. David set it up 5 years ago when we talked about having kids. Kids we never had. Kids she said she wanted but kept delaying. We just have to be patient, she whispered, kissing him. And creative. I immediately forwarded the footage to Marcus and Sarah. Then I typed one message. I need to disappear. Marcus, Sarah, and I sat in Marcus's conference room at midnight. They just finished watching the footage. This is conspiracy to commit murder, Sarah said, her face grim. We take this to police right now. No, David, she's plotting to kill you. And she hasn't done anything yet. It's pillow talk. Any defense attorney would shred this in court. Just fantasy, Your Honor. She never acted on it. I want more than an arrest. I want justice. Marcus stuttered me. What are you thinking? I thought about my father. About watching him die knowing his best friend had betrayed him, stolen from him, destroyed him. About the partner who escaped to Costa Rica and lived wealthy and free while Dad was buried in a cheap casket we could barely afford. My father's business partner didn't just steal money. He stole Dad's dignity. Made him look foolish. Weak. Dad died believing he'd failed. I looked at both of them. I want Sasha to confess everything. On record. I want Brian to turn on her. And I want her to feel exactly what I felt. Powerless, foolish, betrayed. So what's your plan? Marcus asked carefully. I smiled, cold and calculated. I'm going to give them exactly what they want. An opportunity. Sarah's eyes widened. You're going to stage your own death. Boating accident. Remote lake. No witnesses. We make it look real enough that she believes it. Then we watch her reveal herself. Marcus leaned back. That's insane. And illegal. And probably the only way to get a full confession. Can you make it work? Sarah pulled out her laptop. Give me 2 weeks. I'll have everything ready. 2 weeks later, I told Sasha I needed a solo camping trip to clear my head. Work stress. Burnout. She tried to hide her excitement, but I saw it flash across her eyes. Lake Morrison was 3 hours north, remote, deep, rarely patrolled. Sarah had arranged everything. A boat rental under my name, a convincing accident report template, and a mannequin dressed in my clothes with my wallet in the pocket. At 9 p.m., under a moonless sky, I capsized the boat. The mannequin went into the dark water, waited to sink slowly enough that divers would eventually find something. I swam to the east shore where Sarah waited with dry clothes and a burner phone. "You're officially dead," she said, handing me a towel. "Now we wait." At midnight, Sasha got the call. Sarah had hacked into the hidden cameras remotely. We watched from Sarah's laptop in a motel room 20 miles away. Sasha answered her phone, voice thick with fake sleep. "Hello. Mrs. Kane, this is Officer Phillips. There's been an accident. Your husband's boat capsized on Lake Morrison. We're searching, but the water's cold. I'm very sorry." Sasha's performance was Oscar-worthy. Gasping, crying, "No, no, no, David, please God, no." She hung up. Then, after exactly 15 seconds of silence, she called Brian. "He's dead. David's dead." "Jesus, Sasha, what happened?" "Boating accident. They haven't found the body, but, oh God, Brian, what do we do?" "We wait. Play it cool. You grieve. I stay away. 6 months, then we can be together. And the insurance." Brief pause. "Don't think about that yet. Let them find the body first." Sasha hung up. She looked in her bedroom mirror and smiled. A real, relieved smile. Finally, I watched from the motel. Marcus sat beside me. "You okay?" "Keep recording." 1 week later, I stood across the street from the funeral home, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. Sarah had placed a wire on Sasha. We were recording everything. Inside, Sasha played the grieving widow flawlessly. Black dress, tears, hugging my co-workers, accepting condolences with trembling lips. But Brian was there too, in the back row, trying to look like just another mourner. After the service, in the parking lot, they met briefly by her car. "You were amazing in there," Brian whispered. "I should be. I've been practicing." Sasha glanced around, then smiled. "When do I get the insurance money?" "They need to declare him legally dead. Could take months unless they recover the body. So we need them to find the body." Brian nodded. "Don't worry. They will." But he looked nervous. Sarah had profiled him. Brian Cole grew up poor in Detroit, watched his mother struggle while rich men drove past in luxury cars. He'd learned to charm wealthy women, but he'd never been involved in anything this serious. He was in over his head and starting to realize it. Then Sarah approached, posing as a grief counselor. "Mrs. Kane, I'm so sorry for your loss. I work with trauma families. If you need support." "Thank you, but I'll be fine." "Of course. Just one thing. The police mentioned the life insurance. You might want to get ahead of the paperwork, especially given the circumstances." Sasha's eyes narrowed. "What circumstances?" "Well, nobody. It can complicate payouts." Sasha's jaw tightened. Brian looked like he might vomit. In my car, I leaned forward. "She's going to do something stupid. I can feel it." Sarah's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Good. Let her." 3 days later, Sasha couldn't wait anymore. The insurance company was asking questions, wanting proof, mentioning waiting periods. She called Brian to meet at a highway motel. Sarah had already bugged Brian's car. "We heard everything. We need to speed this up," Sasha said. "How?" "We plant evidence. We find something from David's boat. His wallet, his watch, proof he drowned." "Are you insane? That's evidence tampering." "Only if we get caught. You still have the Rolex I bought you." Pause. "Yeah, why?" "David had the same model. We scratch off your serial number, plant it near the lake, discover it during a search. Police close the case, insurance pays out. $3 million, baby." Sasha had always been one step ahead, or so she thought. But desperation makes people sloppy. Her mother had been powerless, dependent on men who failed her. Sasha swore she'd never be powerless. But now, with the insurance stalling, with David's assets frozen in probate, she was facing the one thing she feared most, ending up with nothing. Brian finally agreed. "Okay, tomorrow night. Lake Morrison." In Sarah's office, I listened to the recording. Marcus shook his head. "She's really doing this." "Let them plant it," I said. "Then we move." Sarah grinned. "I'll have local PD ready. They catch her red-handed tampering with evidence. Plus we have the conspiracy recordings." "She's done." "What about Brian?" "He'll flip the second we arrest him. Guys like that always do." I nodded. "Then let's finish this." The next night, Sarah, Marcus, and I watched from a surveillance van as Sasha and Brian waded into Lake Morrison's shallow east shore. Sasha carried the Rolex in a waterproof bag. "Make it look natural," she whispered. Like the current washed it up. Brian placed it between rocks, hands shaking. They were about to leave when flashlights everywhere. "Freeze! Hands up!" 6 officers surrounded them, weapons drawn. Real police this time. Sarah had coordinated everything. "Sasha Kane, Brian Cole, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, evidence tampering, and conspiracy to commit murder." Brian panicked immediately. "Murder? We didn't kill anyone." Sasha tried to maintain composure. "He's dead. My husband is dead." The lead detective smiled. "Actually, he's not." That's when I stepped out of the van. Sasha's face went white. "David." "Hi, honey." I walked toward her slowly, hands in my pockets. "Miss me?" Brian started talking immediately, exactly as I predicted. "I didn't want to do this. This was all her. She said you had life insurance. She planned everything. She said, 'Shut you, P.'" Sasha screamed at him, but it was too late. He kept talking, desperate to save himself, giving detectives everything they needed. Sasha just stayed at me, her face cycling through shock, rage, disbelief. "You set me up." "No," I said quietly. "I gave you rope. You hanged yourself." They handcuffed her. As they led her to the police car, she looked back at me one last time. No more lies. No more masks. Just the truth. She'd lost. At the police station, I stood behind one-way glass watching Sasha in the interrogation room. Marcus and Sarah flanked me. Inside, Sasha sat calmly, too calmly. The detective laid out evidence, recordings, bank transfers, the planted Rolex, Brian's statement. "I want a lawyer," she said. But before the detective could respond, I walked in. "Technically legal. I'm the victim, and she hasn't formally lawyered up yet." "Hello, Sasha." She stayed at me with pure hatred. "You set me up." "No, I gave you every chance to stop. You chose not to. You were dead." I sat across from her, sliding the evidence folder forward. Photos of her and Brian. Transcripts of recordings. Bank statements. "I heard what you said about me. That I'd never suspect a thing. That I'm too stupid, too buried in spreadsheets to notice my own wife's betrayal. You are boring, David. You a spreadsheet with a pulse." Brian made me feel alive. "Brian's next door giving you up for a plea deal. Conspiracy to commit murder carries 20 years. But if he cooperates, maybe 5. What do you think he chose?" Her composure cracked. "He wouldn't. He already has. Every detail. How you planned it. How you manipulated him. How you said accidents happen about your own husband." Sasha slammed the table. "I loved you." I stood. "No, you love my money. My security. But you're not getting a cent. The prenup you signed has an infidelity clause. You get nothing." I walked to the door, then turned back. "That $18,000 Rolex you bought, Brian, that was from our son's college fund. The son we were supposed to have. Remember?" Her face crumbled. I left without looking back. 6 months later, I stood outside the courthouse. Sasha had just been sentenced, 8 years for conspiracy and fraud. Brian got 6, having testified against her. Marcus and Sarah stood with me on the courthouse steps. "How do you feel?" Sarah asked. I looked at my wedding ring, still on my finger out of habit. I finally took it off and tossed it in a nearby trash can. "I feel awake." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text. "Mr. Kane? You don't know me, but I know what you did to expose your wife. I have a similar problem, and I'm willing to pay. Can we talk?" Marcus looked over my shoulder. "You're not seriously considering." I stayed at the message for a long moment. Somewhere in the distance, I heard my father's voice. "Betrayal doesn't deserve mercy. It deserves consequences." I typed back. "When and where?" Marcus sighed. "David." "People thought I was too weak to fight back," I said quietly. "They were wrong. Maybe others deserve the same chance." I sent a message. Sarah shook her head but smiled slightly. "What have we created?" I didn't answer. I just walked to my car, my phone already buzzing with a response. Some men crumble under betrayal. Some men burn it all down. I chose something different. I chose cold, calculated justice. And I was just getting started.